Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Time Machine. I'm Harper, and as you may or may not know, this is part 2 in a 4-part video series called How to Draw Better in Only 1 Hour. Holy shark balls! That's a pretty outlandish claim, I realize. But here's the trick. The clickbait headline, the Sneaky Pete. You gotta draw for 60 minutes a day for 30 days in a row. And if you do, you'll be guaranteed by the ancient art gods to get better at drawing. Seriously, I just talked to them yesterday. They were pretty cool about it. And again, most of the drawings that I did for this challenge were done in 60 to 90 minutes, depending on how much time I had that day. And some of them stretched into a few hours, but enough jibber jabber. On with the challenge. Okay, day number 8. Let's grab a super expensive high-class Dixon Ticonderoga Black No. 2 pencil and get the party started. So for this one, I just wanted to make a couple of busts, and then the dude on the left started looking like some sort of shaman for a long-forgotten tribe of magicians. So naturally, I flipped over to the opposite of that for the lady on the right. She's a futuristic matrix-locked daughter of the super singularity. Wow, you're a real wordsmith, fella. Future techno stuff is pretty easy to draw, because you can just fake a bunch of computery looking gadget crap, and no one knows the difference, because it hasn't been invented yet. You made it up. The inks on this one were done with a Pigma FB pen by Sakura, all the way from Japan. I like the tip on it because it's just flexible enough to allow for a decent range of thick to thin lines depending on pressure. And yes, her UPC body code tattoo number is from the song by Clutch, 100011110101. Robot Lords of Tokyo, smile, taste kittens. Did you not know that the royal hunting grounds are always forbidden? I mean, everybody knows that. Anyway, next I laid down some watercolor. His colors are pretty earth tone standard, and hers are classic 1980s cyberpunk cliche. Green skin and purple hair? It's tomorrow calling. Are you brave enough to answer? Ba-na-na-na. That's right, a little Sig Sputnik for you kids. Look it up. So nothing really new here, just finish it up with some colored pencils and then add a little acrylic static fuzz action in front of her techno glasses. And there you have it. So fantastic. Let's move on to day 9. Oh good, more gluing paper into the sketchbook. That's a scrunched up piece of newsprint that I used for a background texture on a Photoshop project last year. That's right friends, reduce, reuse, recycle, save the planet, blah blah blah. I brushed a bunch of water onto the page before I started in with some heavy inks so that they would run and blur and give me some unplanned and unexpected results. Mission accomplished. Using a big brush in your sketchbook will help you to mix it up and create marks that will push you into doing something out of the ordinary. In my head, this looked completely different, but once I started in with that fat brush, it became something else. Something unexpected. The only idea I had before starting this drawing was a Nosferatu-style vampire. Originally, it was going to be more sharp and clear, but then the faded, more subtle look took over, and I was under its spell. Sometimes you gotta let the drawing do what it wants to do. Boy, did that sound cheesy. Anyway, this is all just water, ink, and some white gesso. The whole time, I'm just adding and subtracting dark and light until I can get a pretty good balance. Next, I added a little crimson red acrylic because after all, he is a bloodsucker. Then to finish it up, a light gray oil pastel to bring out the fangs and one hollow spooky eye. That's gonna haunt my dreams, just like the death of all my dreams. And remember friends, just like Wu-Tang Clan always warned us, when this guy or any other vampire is around, protect your neck. Okay, rolling into day 10 of the challenge, and it looks like we've got a high-octane, huge horsepower, tire-spinning, blown Camaro with a speed demon at the wheel.
Oh my goodness!
That's right, oh, your goodness is right, ma'am. Did that make you weak in the knees? This image would be right at home at a state fair or car show in a booth selling airbrushed teenage dreams in 1978. And FYI, I'd be the first in line to buy it. I remember that I was having a bad art day on this one. I had a hell of a time just trying to draw this monster machine. It was a near 50-50 split between both ends of the pencil. Cars and monsters are normally my bread and butter and relatively easy to draw, but not that day. This was downright painful. After cursing nonstop for 20 minutes, the drawing was stiff, forced, and smacked of effort, but I was over it and ready to move on. So, using my standard Winsor Newton Series 7 Sable No. 3 and some Speedball ink, I worked my way through the inks with a grouchy face and thoughts of lighting this sketchbook on fire and then running over it with a lawnmower. But I held it together and laid down some watercolor to try to make it look better with, mixed results. As soon as I started the color, I knew I would need to go back over most of the ink lines. Few things piss me off more than doing a job twice, but by the time I was putting some finishing touches on it with colored pencils, the drawing was looking pretty okay. And then, in a serendipitous moment of two art worlds colliding, I was making this image while listening to Iron Maiden's record, Power Slave. This lyric from the song 2 Minutes to Midnight was the perfect match for day 10 of the 30-day challenge. Day 11 was next, and frankly, I was in no mood to be creative. I think it was the day before that I had scratched out a quick thumbnail idea of skulls growing out of the ground. It seemed like a better idea at the time, but you know, not all seeds produce blue ribbon winners. The image I had in mind was light on dark, something spooky and broken, but the background work that I did with all that torn paper and ink drips and all that crap quickly became another exercise in wasting time for no real payoff. I mean, you really can't even see that I did all of that stuff in the final image. But sadness aside, this image does count as more practice and more experience, right? Please somebody tell me that I did not just burn another hour of my life for nothing. Anyway, after the background was put down, I used a white China marker, which is sort of like an old school oil pencil for writing on overhead transparencies in social studies class or on rusted out car parts in a junkyard. Super cool, super vintage. You'll probably find tons of pictures of them on Pinterest. The image is a cursed plant, or weed maybe, and the harvest is skulls and foreboding. After the drawing, I added some red, yellow, and blue acrylic to the mix, and then rolled some black over the whole image with a hard brayer to give it a distressed and eroded look. Some of the colors were too bright and fun-looking, so I brushed on a layer of watered-down white gesso in some areas to tone down the festive feel. Add some red color pencil slash marks for more texture in the background, and then it was time to glue down the title, which would have been way cooler if the image itself wasn't so mediocre. And here we go, what do you know? It's time for day 12. This is a classic first-year community college art class assignment. Tear out an image from a magazine, in this case a brochure for a high-end cruise that was sent to the previous tenants, and then painting over it. Thus, yeah, I just said thus, turning it into art. But in this case, I'm going to make these rich jerks eat the worst 3 Michelin star meal you could ever have. Trust me. This exercise was more of an idea generator than a really cool drawing or painting. What kind of new image can you create out of the existing one, which in this example is a boring advertisement for how great the dining is on this cruise? I painted in the shapes for this dinner party's new and improved heads with some acrylic paint mixed with white gesso, and I did that for two reasons. First, to make the color lighter so that you would be able to see the line work on top, and two, so that the paint would have a matte finish and I would be able to draw on top of it with a black colored pencil.
Well, now, look at you. Ain't you just a real art genius?
Halfway through painting the monster heads, I got the 897th unsolicited call from a voting poll asking me who I was going to cast my ballot for.
Listen up, you whippersnapper. It's none of your GD beeswax.
And that pain in the ass turned into a blessing right before my eyes. The word balloons and idea for this image were solidified right then and there. Not to be confused with the sage advice from the band Crocus, who said, "Eat the rich." This image became "Eat the politicians," preferably with a cheap but smooth and buttery Chardonnay from the Trader Joe's $5 and under wine section. So in the spirit of November in the United States, I hope you all had a chance to exercise your civic duty and vote for whichever politicians you think are the least evil. P.S. I'm recording this a day before the election, so hopefully the country will still be in one piece by the time this video comes out. Fingers crossed. Hey friends, good news. It's time for Lucky Day 13, and spoilers, it's going to be wonderful. Not the drawing. The drawing's not that great, but what I mean is, well, never mind. You'll see. This day started with a light blue pencil drawing that you can't see for crap, but that's okay, because I began by drawing a set of my patented, terrible lady eyes, before moving on to her all-American bald eagle bust line. Because let's face it, friends, one of the most important things in this country, other than money and power, are boobs in a halter top on ABC in 1975.
Booyah! That's the kind of awesome shit I'm talking about.
Whoa, take it easy, old man. Anyway, I did all of the line work with colored pencils on this one to change things up a little, and then flooded the whole thing with some #sarcasm amazing watercolors. I know. The eyes are horrible, and I really want to go back and try to fix them, but at this point, who gives a shit? By the way, here's an amateur art tip for you. Let's say you've got some blank space left over on a sketchbook page and you don't feel like making another half-assed attempt at a drawing that day. Well, you know what? You can just fill that space with some large text. People will think it's designy and clever and cool. Or they'll see right through your silly ruse and give your video a thumbs down. Again. Or maybe that's just me. But before we move on, as a very wise man named Columbo has said many times, one more thing. Linda Carter is the only Wonder Woman there is in my book. I mean, the lady in the latest movie was great and everything, and I like her. But in my 70s network TV kids' memory, I stand firm. It's Linda Carter or GTFO. Don't look now, but day 14 is upon us. And you know what that means. No, you don't, but I'm going to tell you. That's right, more coffee and a straight-ahead drawing with a simple red pencil in the sketchbook. This day was a one-for-all, all-for-one, free-for-all, free-ballin', Tom Petty free-fallin' kind of a drawing. Translation, I had no idea what I was going to make when I put pencil to paper. Yep, big mystery. But don't worry, because it turned out completely Matthew McConaughey. All right. Matter of fact, this was one of my favorite drawings from the whole 30-day challenge. Not to toot my own horn, drink my own Kool-Aid, or eat my own ice cream, but I thought it turned out pretty cool. This dude is obviously some sort of high-ranking mystical tribal elder seeking to divine hidden knowledge of the future, or time travel, or maybe he just drank way too much ayahuasca and is freaking the hell out. In any event, I think he's come up with some pretty solid theories on the creation of black holes, quantum physics, and just how Smash Mouth got so popular in the first place. Full disclosure, I'm pretty sure that the hanging planet-like orbs on sticks above this guy's head were a subconscious ripoff of a character Dave McKean drew in his fantastic graphic novel, Cages. This drawing was fun and flowed easily from the pencil, very much unlike the next image, the final image in this video. Turn on the fog machine and cue the foreboding doom, because it's a tragedy the likes of which even Shakespeare himself couldn't imagine. That might be overdoing the hyperbole a little bit, but we'll see. Day 15 started fine and dandy enough with a nice young warrior and her magic sword, but said sword, having been cursed by the three witches of Zardoz, would eventually bring destruction, betrayal, and her untimely demise at the hands of me. I know, but I had no choice. After the pencils, the line work was done with the same pen as the first drawing, the Pigma FB by Sakura.
Fascinating.
Next, I laid down some watercolor washes, and all the while I had the sneaking suspicion that her eyes were too big for the rest of her face and set too far apart, foreshadowing the evil to come. This warrior had traveled far and wide, seemingly to break the spell of the kingdom's ruler and end the 2,000-year reign under the pentagram. But she was an imposter, a traitor, and had to be dealt with as such. By the time I was done inking the hair, it was undeniable. Her weird fat neck, those cursed flounder eyes that stared right through me and turned my bones to ice. I knew what I had to do. In a sudden burst of berserker rage, I scrubbed ink all over the drawing, destroying the demons within and locking them under the dark shroud of death so they would never ever haunt anyone else's artwork ever again.
To whom it may concern, this was the worst episode of Game of Thrones I have ever seen, okay? I just put that on Reddit.
Yes, it's true. In just 60 minutes a day, or thereabouts, you too can improve your drawing and painting skills. So I double dog dare ya, take the 30-day challenge, and most importantly, tune in next week to watch the next video in this How to Draw Better series. Until then, if you'd like to see even more hot sketchbook action, cool stories about art and life, and dad jokes, check out these rad videos right here. And if you thought this video was better than listening to Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley for 24 hours straight, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on notifications by clicking that bell icon so you'll never miss another sketchbook video right here on the Time Machine. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week, or else.